Um, Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to a new episode of Like a New Yorker. Today is a very special episode because we have a special guest and a friend of mine, a great expert of real estate market in New York. And I figured that we definitely needed the insights of an expert because we've been hearing like all kinds of stuff on media. There is a lot of sensationalism, and then so I thought, you know what, we need to talk with somebody who actually knows how this works and can give us some really precious insights. So we have the CEO and founder of Carini Group, Alex Carini. So let me introduce you to Alex. Hello, Alex. Good morning.
Hi, Joe, and good to be with you always and with LiveIn-Style magazine. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Alex. It is great to have you because, again, the reason why I told you this when I reached out to you is like I was hearing, on the news, all kind of stuff saying, people are, flying from Manhattan, New York is going to be deserted and the real estate is going to go this and that. I said, this doesn't make any sense to me because I live in New York. I've been living here for many years. I know how it works. And they said we need the words of a competent expert that can give us some cool insights. And thank you for agreeing on being on the show.
Of course. I think it's a very actual and of today's day topic, and everybody's interested about it. And really all over the world, also for your audience. I know that you have a lot of people connecting from all over the world, from Europe. So they hear about New York, they hear about COVID-19, they hear about real estate, and they wonder what's going on. So I'm here to answer all the questions, of course.
That's great. So as you can see, of course, Alex has been extremely successful running his own firm. When did you founded your company, Alex?
The company is about 3.5 years old. Feels like it's 30 years old. I just cut my hair, otherwise you see all the white on the side for the real estate business. It's been a great ride. I've been in the business for about 8 years, going on 9 years. And, it's a nonstop business. So,
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, and of course here, I mean, over here you see all those, dream houses and dream apartments that you would love to live in New York. And actually, Carini Group gives you the chance to explore these properties and have somebody who takes care of you in the right way, right, Alex?
Absolutely, yes. There's, a lot of properties that you see on, when you come to New York, when you travel, on movies. Park Avenue, Wall Street, Fifth Avenue, Central Park. Everybody knows about, these great locations. And what we try to do is definitely guide you through the real estate buying and rental, plus the rental process in New York. So make it a little bit less challenging, given that it's a very competitive arena, as you know, as a city as a whole, but also as a real estate business in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you can appreciate right away that's why, everybody loves Alex. Is like, you can tell, he's not the kind of guy who's going to tell you, oh, don't worry, I'm going to find you something. In New York, it's crazy. Yeah. So, you actually need to be very realistic because it's not about people. Some people, Alex, isn't it funny that people come to New York just thinking that if they have the money, they can buy something, right? But it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think the key word in New York City real estate is really compromise, right? And when I say compromise, it's at any given budget. I mean, you'll be surprised that people that buy around, couple 100,000, $500,000, people buying the several millions, and in both cases, you don't find exactly everything that you want. Given meaning you have to really go through your list, and the city is high density, and so there are limitations when it comes to real estate. So maybe you have to give up a little bit of a view. Maybe you have to give up some updates or wash and dry here and there. So it's all about compromising and understanding what you need really, and then also learning about the local market if you're not from here. That's very, very important. Neighborhoods.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. That is absolutely on point. Because you actually, you might find out that you might have to give up something, but you might find out actually that you have options that you didn't think about, and that's when a competent expert, makes a difference. But
Of
anyway,
course.
let's jump right away on our topics today. First of all, what is the current situation of the market in Manhattan? Given, of course, that this is a very fluid situation, and that over the last 3 months we had this lockdown. But again, we have heard all kind of stuff, sensationalism, catastrophism,
Sure.
which I don't buy by definition.
Sure.
So, what can you say about the current situation, Alex?
Well, look, it's a very broad and question, and very all the world is going through this. Where we are in New York right now is the following. I would divide really the business into. I have two companies. One is residential company, and one is commercial company. Right?
Okay.
On residential, we basically deal with sales and rentals of apartments, to put it very simply. And on commercial, we consult on retail spaces, offices, and purchasing and selling of buildings, investment sales. Now, when it comes to the residential business, it's been holding up much better than the commercial side of the business, especially retail. I think right now the market is in discovery mode, where there are about 1/4 of the listings on the market today versus a year ago, right? So what that tells you is that a lot of the people are deciding not to put the apartments on the market, and basically to hold the apartments, right? So definitely less traffic. I mean, the main probably information that I can give you is that per New York law and the state of New York, we can't really show properties, or at least we're definitely very limited in showing properties. So what that creates is a seller, if he doesn't need to, he might not want to be on the market at this particular time because you can't really show it. Now, with that being said, we haven't really, seen any real consequences, I would think, yet, just because sellers are still looking at prices in February, from before the pandemic in New York, and buyers think they're going to get a deal at 50, 60 cents on the dollar, right? And so we've been busy.
That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah. No, I would say that we've been busy. There's people out there looking, even on the rental market. There's people out there looking, and I really think that because of this pandemic, most importantly, we've skipped, so to speak, the busiest time in America really for home buying, which is the spring season, right? Usually starts, March, April, May is where everybody is out looking for a home, right? So because of this pandemic, this has been put on hold, or definitely has been affected. I would say it's fair to say that. And I do, and as you know, as you may not know, I mean, depending where your audience is following from, but New York is not, and when I say New York, I say New York City is not yet open, okay, as a phase 2 and so on and so forth. So what I do see is that once New York will open again, there will be tremendous pent-up demand for all these properties, where sellers are going to say, okay, now I can show my properties, now I'm going to put it on the market, and buyers I'm going to be out again. And then we're really going to see, I think we're going to see definitely much more activity. And so I think that's what's next. So we're a little bit waiting for things, but at the same time, things are happening. I mean, on the residential side, more than 90% of tenants in Manhattan especially, but in New York City as a whole, are paying their rent, right? I mean, government is supplying, as you know, for people that lose jobs. Most of them are actually getting their paychecks, their PPPs, whatever the case might be. But that's a good thing, right? I mean, money is coming in for people that actually do need it. So with that, they should be able to pay rent. And so far, we haven't seen really a lot of negative effect on rental in New York City. I mean, we're still renting, even in this time.
Well, yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Because I think that, and again, if you're not from New York, this might sound something that it's a little bit, off, but or hard to believe. But when you actually get a place, you need relationships.
yeah,
So it might be more personal, if it's an individual, or it might be a management company, but there is a relationship. So, for example, what I've seen, and that was my case, and I've seen that it's the case that of many people I know, and as you mentioned, that I have
right,
a relationship with my landlord. I know that if I don't pay the rent, I'm going to put him on a hard spot. So
right,
it's something that realizing that I cut many other expenses, and they said
right,
I don't want to put my landlord on a hot spot. It's like I've cut
right,
other expenses. I asked him maybe to just wait a couple of days, and but that was it, because I have a relationship, and that's the case for many people in Manhattan, so or in New York in general. So absolutely,
yes,
that is something that is very important. Now, you mentioned that, of course, it's a very diversified market. There might be issues, but so in case. So we can move to the next topic. Is that, of course, there might be cases like for rental, commercial, or residential, that yeah, you might be experiencing some financial distress. In this case, what would you recommend? What would be a good way to deal with some distress?
look, I think there's definitely distress, right, for obvious
Hmm.
reasons. And I think when you have distress, you have to basically work with all the parties involved to
Mm.
try and adjust to a new normal, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
And I'm referring especially to the commercial side. I mean, retailers, right? Those are really they're suffering the most, hotel businesses and so on and so
Hmm.
forth. And as you understand, tenants not paying rent, it means landlords defaulting on their mortgages, and it means banks,
Yeah.
being with a lot of real estate in their hands, which banks
Yeah.
don't want to be in the real estate business. They don't want to have
Yes.
foreclosure. They don't want to be in that business. So I think the way that you solve this is, apart from, of course, you know, stimulus checks and government blah blah
Hmm.
blah, is you ultimately also have to come down to terms to a new
Hmm.
market, especially in the retail business. So
Yeah.
that's number one. Uh, we are consulting, for example, now with a lot of different firms, whether restaurants or retailers that are
Hmm.
renegotiating their leases. And truthfully, it's also for the good of the landlords. And if banks also are able to renegotiate the commercial mortgages, I think that's how you're going to come to a new normal. You can really ask for prices that you're asking in
Hmm.
15, 16, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing renegotiating. Number two, like in any, I mean, calling crisis or movement on the market, or in this case, I think there are trends that are being accelerated, but there were
Hmm.
trends that were already existing.
Mm.
Okay,
Yeah.
like now everybody talks about working from home. Sure, I mean, with this pandemic, people are working from home more, right?
Hmm.
People are talking about food delivery, right?
Yes.
It's been going on now. Maybe grocery delivery. I mean, I see myself. I've never personally gotten grocery delivery, but
Hmm.
now we are getting grocery delivery, and you know what? You see that it's convenient. So I think from the operator standpoint,
Hmm.
whoever is going to adjust faster,
Hmm.
tweak their business strategies
Mm.
with this new normal, are the people that are going to come out on top. I mean, I see
Yeah.
restaurants now that are having online menus, or people maybe want a little bit less personal uh,
Hmm.
uh, situation, or order
Yeah.
from a menu like in the airport. Listen, we've seen this, right? And it just
Yeah.
accelerates for
Well,
people.
I think that again, you speak reason when you say that of course, again, it's a very I'm putting you on a hard spot because these are very general questions, so it's not easy to answer. But
Right,
yeah, absolutely, you're on point. Of course, you have to find a measure in the middle. On one side, you have the tenants who have to understand how this works and to keep the cash flow going. It's something
right,
that it's not just about yourself or your
right,
specific individual interest. On the other side is on the landlords, is on the owners. You have to
right,
understand that as well. You have the same interest.
right,
Especially if you're doing like a financial investment. What is most important is to keep the cash flow going. So you also need to adjust to a new situation where you have to understand that if your tenant is in a hard spot, but
Right.
you know has been always reliable, has always paid on time,
Correct.
is a good tenant, you want to keep him. And
Correct.
so find a measure in the middle that basically it creates the conditions for a win-win situation.
Absolutely. I think we ultimately are all in this together, meaning, we understand the distress. And I think if you have, now speaking on behalf of retailers,
Hmm.
if you have that approach of respect towards, your landlord and understand
Yeah.
also his side of things, and
Hmm.
landlords likewise. I mean, they don't want to have to change tenants, especially if it's been a good tenant during these times, and they'll
Exactly.
rather, work with them. So I think a lot of our role right now is to, you know, um, make parties comfortable with the new situation and make
Mm.
sure they're they are meeting their also their financial obligations. But as far as law, especially in the commercial side, I mean, there are, as you've heard, moratorium on eviction. They can really
Hmm.
evict you. And actually, they came out yesterday with a new law that
Hmm.
the mayor of New York signed into law, which is basically if you terminate a lease, right,
Hmm.
from now until September, then you're a restaurant or a
Hmm.
restaurateur or a retailer, the landlord can no longer go after your personal assets, right?
Mm.
So a lot of
Yeah.
restaurants are under LLCs, and then they used to be that they will be able to,
Yeah.
after the security deposit is done,
Yeah, with the
that's when they
collateral.
have to
Yeah.
pay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that has been changed, and so we're seeing, a little bit of uh, different
Hmm.
situation and things
Yeah.
moving forward. But I would say a landlord doesn't want to, lose tenants either at this time. So it's all
Yeah.
about working,
Absolutely.
frankly with each
Mhm.
other.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, and also on the other on the other hand, New York is such a diversified and rich market that there are always opportunities. Now, you
Yeah.
can always reach Alex. It's easy to find him on social media and at Carini Group. .com without giving away too much, of course, because if you are interested, and Alex surely have some good deal in his pocket, but what so people can get in the right mindset, what would be as smart investment or a smart way to invest right now, so they might actually look into it.
So I think this is probably a very unique opportunity because it's a very unique situation that we're going through to invest in real estate.
Hmm.
Where if you do invest in the right assets, it could be probably an opportunity that you might never have, or you
Hmm.
definitely never had in a long time. Now, my suggestion to be I want to give you the secret. I want to be very practical and tell
Okay.
you what I actually think. I think a good investment right now in real estate will be on the residential side and in a prime location like
Hmm.
Manhattan or prime location of Manhattan, etc. Because arguably this is the only chance that you have. We've never seen the city empty. We've never
Hmm.
seen the city empty. It's the
Yeah.
first time that we're seeing the city empty. And a lot of people are thinking of trends as, people are moving to the suburbs or people are, going to be working from home. I think right now the market is overreacting a little bit, where as
Hmm.
though these trends may be true, but to the extent of which people are thinking right now because they're really disoriented, they're really all over the place. I think
Yeah.
there will be much less. So this could be a good opportunity to actually buy. I see this year being a year of discovery. So we see
Hmm.
what's really going to happen. But I personally do not believe, and everybody that invests in real estate doesn't really look at a 1 year time frame or 2 year time frames, unless you're a developer. The usually user looks at this in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. I mean,
Exactly, Alex.
mortgages are 30 years, right?
Exactly.
So my
That's
point is,
that's that's exactly the point I wanted to make. Is like, guys, people involved in real estate, either if you do this, once in a while, because for residential, but everybody knows that exactly in real estate, you always think and plan on a 5, 10, 15, even more. So
right,
again, there might be people who are panicking, or there are short term needs, But yeah, that's exactly the point. Is like you have to people, real estate people think, and people who invest in real estate think in the long term. It's almost
You
inherent
have to.
business.
You have to. So,
Yeah,
if that's your thought, I mean, again, unless you're a developer, then you need to flip something in 1 year, and
yeah.
then you have other things to do. I mean, you can take advantage of the current mortgage rates, which, by the way, are almost an all-time low. So we've been seeing a lot of mortgage applications, especially on the real estate side, residential real estate side. It's been a 5-week consecutive increase in mortgage applications.
Yeah.
So things are happening. But my point is, if you are looking at this medium to long term approach, and currently we are 8.5 million people in New York City, right?
Yeah.
So if you think that in 5 or 10 years, we're going to be 7 million people, 6 million people, 5 million people, that real estate may go down. Now, if you, on the contrary, think that large cities, New York, but also all over the world, London and so on and so forth, Hong Kong and blah, 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 are always going to increase in population in the long term, which is what I think, then I think you have a short-term opportunity to buy now for a long-term goal, which is
exactly.
which
Absolutely
is phenomenal.
You can say better than that. So absolutely. So on this topic, I'll leave you with that, because then the next one, it's going to be, I know it's a little bit provocative, but it's sometimes it's cool to stir the pot. Because I've been thinking, with all these commercial spaces that have to somehow, especially office buildings, and that somehow they have to find a way, to some extent, to reinvent themselves. Wouldn't be interesting to see some manufacturing actually back in New York? I'm thinking of all these huge spaces in what used to be industrial areas in Manhattan, as well as in Brooklyn, where you also have a strong presence. And as a matter of fact, many of these spaces, if you go to Navy Yard, Greenpoint, Williamsburg, these places have been renovated. They look fantastic. High ceilings, large spaces, open spaces, as well as Manhattan. And now the China production and manufacturing is almost gone, and it's going to be very hard to, in the future, to actually manufacture in China. Well, you can cut all the costs and the custom and the shipment if you actually manufacture in New York. That would be something really interesting, Alex. Wouldn't it be?
Perhaps. Yeah. Look, I do agree with you. Again, in the short term, you have to do something to adjust. Personally, I do see commercial spaces. When I say commercial spaces, especially offices, retailers, but mainly offices, being converted in more residential, if you were to ask me. But it depends where you are. In urban cities, in urban areas, so cities, absolutely. I think that's what's going to happen. But at the same time, to play devil's advocate, as they say, I mean, to give an example, if they're saying now, people are not going to go to the office anymore, and there's going to be 50% of the people working from home versus 100% of the people in the office before, I think that the truth ultimately will be somewhere in the middle. I think, yes, it will true that more people will be working from home, but I think maybe instead of 50, it will be like 20. You know what I mean? I think right now we are overreacting a little bit because we don't really know what
and there's going to be a turnover very likely, because everybody will actually realize the social aspect of going to work. It's just the convenient that you can work from home. But the point is and sometimes there are things that you can actually tell or share in person. So now, of course, everybody has to prioritize health and safety. And that's absolutely fine. But the point is that there is a social aspect. There are other aspects related to personal interaction that cannot be undermined. And as you say, I agree 100%. There might be a different turnover. There might be a different scheduling. But we do need to go to our workplace anyway.
Look, I always look at human behavior, right?
Yeah.
If before the pandemic, cities like New York or large cities in general, were full of people, a lot of social events and so on and so forth, is because naturally people are attracted to be with other people and to connect, right? Now in this situation, everybody's scared. So it's like, you don't really know what's going on. But I think ultimately when this risk will be lower, or at least there is a cure, a vaccine, whatever, for the medical part, and I don't want to get into details because I'm not a doctor,
Yeah.
but the idea is, when people have a little bit of more confidence, I think the natural trends that were in place before will
Yeah.
continue. I mean, people,
Yeah.
New York became New York for a reason,
For a reason. Yeah. Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
know,
Absolutely.
and,
I
and
agree. Absolutely. Yeah. So, Alex, it was really great to talk to you.
likewise.
I'm glad, and thank you for sharing your precious insights of an expert. I think that I reached the purpose. I wanted to give our viewers and followers some reasonable thoughts, as you can see, but also you see that when an expert steps in and actually gives some insights, gives you perspectives that you don't get anywhere else, and that's why you need expert, and especially in a moment like this, you need experts more than ever. So, Alex, anyway, if people wanna find you, how can they reach out to you?
I mean, we are all over the really internet. So email is alex@carinigroup.com.
Okay.
Carini Group is on all social media: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, you name it.
Uh-huh.
And you can message us on any platform, or by phone number 917-833-4388. And we're here to help you navigate this market. I think the role of the broker right now, in general, whichever, if you work with a good broker, it's increasingly important because the market has some very interesting pockets.
Yep.
And so that's really what we do on a daily basis. Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's great. Again, Alex, thank you so much for being with us. And to you guys, as usual, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to leave Carini Group contacts, of course, in the description of this video. And of course, guys, please be safe. Stay with your beloved ones. Alex, thank you so much. And I really enjoyed this. So maybe we can do this again.
Yes, we should. Thank you, Joe. Be safe, be well, and also to all of your viewers all over the world.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Take care.